Hello friends! Today we're going to discuss a topic that has shaken global politics to its core. Yes, we are talking about India's bid for permanent membership and veto power in the United Nations Security Council, UNSC. Right now, the world is buzzing with the news that India is on the verge of getting veto power in the UNSC. Reports suggest that nearly 143 countries are supporting India's bid for veto power. But friends, support alone is not enough. The truth is much deeper and more strategic. Today, I'll explain why India's permanent membership and veto power are crucial, the political, economic, and global strategy behind it, and why this could be a game-changing moment for our nation. The UN Security Council was formed in 1945 when India was still under British rule. Imagine a time when new democracies were forming around the world, yet India had no voice, no representation, and no power. Even today, 80 years later, India hasn't received the recognition it truly deserves. The UNSC's job is to maintain world peace and security, but only 5 countries are permanent members: USA, Russia, China, the UK, and France. These 5 countries hold veto power. This means if they oppose a resolution, it cannot pass. Now imagine, just 5 countries deciding the fate of the entire world, while 188 other nations have little to no say. Isn't this unfair? India is the world's largest democracy, the second most populous country, and one of the fastest growing economies. Yet, critical global decisions often happen without India's input, which can harm our national interests. For example, China has vetoed several resolutions on Kashmir, shielding Pakistan from accountability. India's voice has often been sidelined, hence India seeks major reforms in the UNSC. With permanent membership and veto power, India can ensure no resolution is passed against its national interests. India has sent the largest number of troops to UN peacekeeping missions. Since the 1950s, India has contributed to peace missions in Kenya, Lebanon, Congo, South Sudan, and many other nations. Indian soldiers are known for their bravery, professionalism, and dedication. Indian diplomats have played crucial roles in Iraq, Kuwait, Cyprus, Lebanon, Sri Lanka, and other conflict zones. India has also been active in nuclear, biological, and chemical weapons control, promoting global security. Yet, despite these contributions, India hasn't received veto power or permanent membership. Recently, India's Foreign Minister S. Jaishankar delivered a historic speech at the UN. He boldly stated, "The UN has failed in many areas. It could not stop the war in Ukraine. It failed to prevent massacres in Gaza. During the pandemic, India faced discrimination despite supplying vaccines globally." Jaishankar made it clear, India will no longer remain silent. After this speech, many Asian countries supported India's permanent membership. BRICS nations voiced their backing. Russia, Bhutan, and several other countries emphasized that the current balance must change. This growing support proves that India can no longer be ignored in global politics. India isn't just a large country, it is a strategic global power on its way to becoming the 3rd largest economy in the world. Key player in technology, pharmaceuticals, and defense sectors. Its involvement in global trade and security decisions is increasingly vital. Granting India permanent membership and veto power will benefit not just India, but global politics and security. India is actively engaging with global leaders and nations, strengthening support among Asian and BRICS countries, taking an active and decisive role in the UN, ensuring a strong and visible presence on international platforms. These strategic steps have strengthened India's chances for veto power and permanent membership. India's contribution to UN missions is unmatched. Soldiers are known for courage and professionalism. Diplomats have resolved disputes in Lebanon, Cyprus, Sri Lanka, and beyond. India assisted during global health crises but faced discrimination. Clearly, India deserves permanent membership and veto power. Jaishankar's speech was not just political, it reflected the voice of 1.4 billion Indians. It says, India demands respect on the global stage. India will stand firm for its rights and contributions. India is ready to become a global superpower. If you thought India's bid for UNSC permanent membership and veto power is just a claim, think again. This is a real step towards India's rightful place in global politics. With over 143 countries supporting India, the stage is set, but the journey is full of strategy, diplomacy, and historic significance. Let's dive deeper. The United Nations Security Council was created in 1945, just after World War II. Its mission is world peace and security, yet its structure remains frozen in time. 5 permanent members, USA, Russia, China, UK, and France, hold veto power. These 5 countries alone decide the fate of entire global resolutions. Over the decades, the world has changed. Population growth, emerging economies, global trade networks, technology-driven conflicts. Yet, the UNSC rules remain the same. The voice of 188 countries is barely heard. This imbalance isn't just outdated, it's unfair and counterproductive. India is no ordinary country, 1.4 billion people, the largest democracy in the world, fastest growing economy, on track to become the 3rd largest global economy. Technological and defense advancements contributing to global stability. India has the moral, economic, and strategic credentials to be a permanent member. Yet, for decades, India was sidelined. Decisions affecting India were often made without consulting India. India has consistently contributed to global peacekeeping missions. Congo, Lebanon, South Sudan, Indian soldiers on the front lines. Known for bravery, professionalism, and humanitarian work. Indian diplomats have mediated conflicts in Sri Lanka, Cyprus, and Iraq, Kuwait. India has also been active in global security frameworks, nuclear non-proliferation treaties, biological and chemical weapons control. Despite this, India hasn't yet received veto power. India's Foreign Minister, S. Jaishankar, recently delivered a powerful speech at the UN, making history. Key points: UN failed to prevent the Ukraine war. Massacres in Gaza went unchecked. India faced discrimination during vaccine distribution. His message was clear: India will no longer stay silent. This speech resonated across continents, garnering support from Asia, BRICS, and other nations. The growing momentum is evident. Asian countries support India's permanent membership. BRICS nations advocate reform. Russia, Bhutan, and several others push for a change in UNSC dynamics. India's leadership is no longer optional. It is essential for global stability. India's rise is not just political, it's strategic and economic. Technology powerhouse, IT, AI, software exports, pharmaceutical leader, vaccines and healthcare solutions, defense and space sector, contributing to regional security, global security decisions now cannot ignore India. India's approach is multi-layered and strategic, engaging with global leaders to build alliances, strengthening ties with Asian neighbors and BRICS countries, raising its voice in UN debates on peace, security, and health crises, demonstrating leadership in global climate change initiatives. This long-term strategy positions India as a future permanent member with veto power. UNSC reform is long overdue. Current structure reflects a post-World War II world, not the 21st century. Global conflicts, climate crises, terrorism, and cyber warfare demand inclusive decision-making. India's inclusion ensures fair representation for Asia and the global South. Without India, the UNSC lacks credibility and global legitimacy. India's economic trajectory adds weight to its UNSC bid. GDP growth projected to surpass many developed nations, trade and investment hub, influencing global markets, innovation and tech leadership, AI, space tech, and defense systems. When economic clout meets political voice, India can drive meaningful global policies. India isn't just powerful economically or militarily. It represents democracy, diversity, and justice. Largest democracy in the world. Commitment to human rights and international law, record of peacekeeping and humanitarian assistance. A permanent membership for India is a moral imperative for global governance. Friends, India's bid for permanent membership and veto power is 70+ years in the making, the culmination of sacrifices, diplomacy, and global contribution, the dream of every Indian who believes in national pride and global respect. The day India achieves this, every Indian home will celebrate with pride. India's voice will resonate across the world. India will finally take its place among the world's leading powers.